So let's look at how to adjust the derailleurs. One with a motor has a single front chain ring, so there's no front derailleur. However, it's the same on either version, with or without a motor, of the adjusting of the rear derailleur. So, in this video, let's look at one without a motor and adjust both derailleurs. If your pedicab has a motor, before doing any driveline work or replacements, adjustments, disconnect the motor from the battery. This one does not, so we won't worry about that. I'm going to stand this up. So the main reason for adjustments will be under normal wear, the cable will get some stretch, and that will put the chain out of alignment with the gears, and you'll hear, if you hear something like this where it's kind of in between gears, you need some simple adjustment. Over time, accelerated by heavy use, the cable will wear out the housing, and that will cause poor shifting. It won't want to upshift so easily. It may hang up in between. At that point, you should replace the housing and the cable, which is the same as servicing any regular bicycle. So we can show adjusting from scratch on that as well. So we'll show you through the on-the-go derailleur adjustment as you're experiencing cable stretch and it's not shifting well. So ideally, the derailleur will bring the chain over perfectly even with each gear. So what we want to do is start rolling it through and shift one gear. You can do this visually as well, looking in and see how the chain lines up on this next cog. If it's not over enough, the chain needs a little more tension, and there is what's called a barrel nut here, that as you turn it like you're unscrewing it, the barrel nut is going to put more tension on the cable. And then you can check that with one click, it comes over evenly to that gear. And then we'll go through and see how it is in each gear. If you have too much cable tension, it will be trying to push the derailleur over, and it may be rubbing on that next gear before it's ready to. In that case, turning the barrel nut like you're tightening it is actually screwing it in and loosening tension on the cable. So in adjusting the limit screws, this is something that probably only needs to be done with a brand new derailleur, or if some other parts are swapped for some reason. If you need a little bit more, move to the big ring, the lower gear. Backing the screw out will allow it to go a little bit further. If it's going too far, where the chain will, I'll show you, if it's too loose, the chain can possibly derail over the wrong side. And in that case, you would want to tighten this limit so that it can't do that. So that's too far, so we'll bring that in a little. And then we'll check the same thing on the high side. If it seems like it hangs up and it doesn't want to go to that gear, you may want to back the adjustment out a little. If it's going too far and the chain is trying to come off, it may try to wedge between the frame, and that is no good, and you will just need a little more tension there. So then if you have good movement between high and low, your limit screws are set. We probably won't worry about those again. So in hooking this up fresh, you'll pull the cable up snug by hand, and then holding some tension on it, you want to make sure that all the housing is in position so that it's not going to mess with you as you go. So then you'll pull tension on the cable just by hand so it's in there tight, and then tighten the clamp down on it. So then once the cable's in place, we can start with the adjustment. You'll go one click on the derailleur and see how it moves. You can look down at your alignment. You will probably need to give a little extra tension with the barrel adjuster. And like that shift seems in between, so we'll give a little more adjustment. Move through your gears and it looks pretty good to go. And it should be noted that it is normal if it is a new cable, cables will stretch initially. So over the first few rides, maybe even for the first month, it may still be stretching and settling in, and you may have to come back, and give a little bit of adjustment periodically until it's stretched and settled, and you should have nice smooth shifting. And similar to the rear, the front derailleur has a high and low limit adjustment. This is something that shouldn't need to be adjusted during normal use, though with the new derailleur it will need to be set for this frame. You can get a hold of the action, see which way it goes, and you can check if you have enough movement all the way to the high side and enough all the way to the low. So once you've verified that it can move far enough for high and low adjustment, make sure that your front shifter is all the way to the lowest gear, and you'll pull your cable through however it is routed. On this SRAM derailleur, it wants to come around here. On the Shimano derailleurs we're using, it comes straight to it. You may need to refer to manufacturer's instructions. But similar, we will just hold the cable in under tension. Make sure all your housing ends are still in place. And then tighten the cable to the derailleur there. Then you'll start to roll through, adjust your tension all the way up. See how it moves. One thing in adjusting the limit that you may need to touch it up again here is you'll want to have the chain all the way to the low gear, and then go ahead and bring the rear derailleur all the way to low gear, so it's all the way over. And ideally, you want it to be able to not rub on the inner part of the cage in this position. So if we back that off just a little bit, give it a little more slack, and it's clear there. So then we will shift and try it into all the way high gear. So the chain is on the far range on both sides, and then see if it's going to rub on the derailleur here, if you need any more touch up to the limit screw. And you don't want too much room to the outside, or that could allow the chain to come off the cog when you go to shift to the big ring. So if it's not enough room for it to come off, but it's enough room for it to not rub, it's good to go. The barrel adjuster at the shifter, you can make some minor adjustments, make sure the chain will be rolling smoothly and not rubbing on the derailleur. And so our end goal is to have the chain run straight onto each cog that you shift to without any rubbing or noise, and you'll get good performance out of it, and then it should be good to go.